Are you from one of those companies who is really working on the diversity, inclusion, and belonging agenda, and maybe even has signed a chart that you will now have more women in leadership and that you will do whatever you can to make this happen? If you're a top executive from one of those companies, I have a piece of advice for you, because I speak to a lot of the women who are currently in positions where they are wondering how this diversity and inclusion agenda is, how long it's going to take before it's actually effective. And no wonder, because we've been working on this for a very, very long time. Actually, we started in '68, and we still see that the numbers, especially when it comes to top leadership positions, move very, very slowly. I probably don't have to remind you, so few women in top executive positions, although there are more and more, but very few. And we only have about 30% leaders in all in a civilized, equity-oriented country like Denmark. We have only 15% women in boards. So the numbers speak for themselves. We are definitely not in a position where we can say we have equal opportunities in leadership for men and women. And the numbers have not moved very much the past few years, but I would say, as someone who has written and covered this topic for many, many years, I would say things are starting to move. And the reason they're starting to move is because women are becoming impatient. And they are not allowing this to go on and on and on and on and on for much longer. And this is why I'm creating this broadcast for you, because I'd like to inform you about what I see from my seat. So I actually quit corporations myself for many, many years ago, 30 years ago. And I did that because I could see already at the time that if I wanted to have success in a corporate career, I would have to get really good at behaving like a man. So I thought to myself, if this is the game I'm supposed to play, 1, 2, 3, who's best at being a man, then of course, by default, I will always be number 2. So I concluded that's not a game I want to participate in. So I exited corporate life. I had been there for, I don't know, maybe 6 years or so in different positions. And I thought, enough, I'm going to create my own career. And so I became an entrepreneur, and the rest is history. And I just want to warn you, many, 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 many women are making the same conclusion. And this was 30 years ago, but I speak to women every single day who make that conclusion. And there are many, many more now than there was at the time. So apparently corporations or our corporate life, our businesses still haven't learned the lesson. And I don't blame you, because it's complicated and you have a lot of other things to think about, but I am informing you about this because the solution is not very complicated. The problem in corporations today is that we favorize the masculine leadership style. We favorize the masculine way of thinking, and often the masculine way of thinking is equal to a male way of thinking. So it's not always like that. I've written so many books about how the masculine and feminine is energies all of us have, but we do tend to have a major in one of those poles. So for example, I'm a woman and I have a very good access to my masculine side, but my pole is a little bit to the feminine side. Maybe somebody would say very, very much. And also you can have men who have their pole to the feminine side, but most often we do tend to have a major in one of the poles. And the problem is, if you keep favorizing one pole, you will keep promoting, you will keep giving more access to people who represent that particular pole, no matter what gender they have. And so that is the foundational problem in modern corporations. And it sounds really simple, but it's more difficult to live. So for example, right now there's an enormous focus on diversity and inclusion agenda. So now we're talking about, yes, we should have people from different nationalities, different cultures, different genders. If you can even promote somebody who is covering, different color, different culture, different gender, maybe even being part of the rainbow spectrum, hallelujah, then we can meet our quota. But diversity and inclusion is about a lot more than that. And that's why I like that we have now coined the term belonging, because it's also about, am I feeling free to be authentic and being myself in this company? And are you promoting people with diverse perspectives? And this is where the problem occurs, because still we favorize a particular way of thinking, and the road to get into a leadership position, if you have a different way of thinking, is very, very long. Corporations don't take many risks. They don't promote people who are very different in their attitudes. And what I would say from my position, where I do leadership training for people who want to contribute to a better future, people who see the need for individuals to step up and take responsibility and start building a better world, and who can see that this is urgent, and who can see that they can't wait for office politics or for long procedures. No, everybody's got to step up now. Those kinds of people, you are losing those kinds of people in corporations if you are not including their not only belonging, but their longing to make a difference. If you don't make room for those people who want to change the world for a better place, you will lose them. And this is what I see all the time. So I know you probably know this, but are you living it? Again and again, I hear from people in corporations who feel that they are stuck. They are stuck in office politics. They're stuck in hierarchical situations. There's rock rule layers between the different layers of leadership. So we're still not in a position where we really can open up to this real diversity and real belonging, and also the longing to make a difference. And in order to succeed, we have to make room for those pioneers of change. And those pioneers of change that you need in your corporation, and you will lose if you don't make room for them, what characterizes these people is that they often have a very strong feminine side. They have a very good access to their feminine side. So these people need room, and they need to get the mandate to create more feminine structures within the organization, because otherwise you suffocate the feminine in the organization and you lose the most feminine talent. And you might think, well, does that matter? Well, it does matter, because every organism, every organization, every system without an equal dynamic between the masculine and feminine will get out of balance. That's just the law of nature. And that's how the world got in such imbalance. And now we have an opportunity to rebalance the world, but it will require that you invite in the women and all the people who represent the feminine, or have a good access to their feminine, and the people who don't, teach them. It's not very complicated. I've had the immense pleasure of having lots of people on my leadership trainings who are don't consider themselves very feminine, or they don't have an easy access to the feminine within them. And in 9 months, they rediscover themselves as people with a good balance between masculine and feminine. It is so beautiful. Even the most stiff, old-fashioned men can do this, can make this transformation happen if they want. That's the only criteria. Are you willing? If you're willing, you can make big transformation happen. So I don't understand why corporations are not more eager to invest in co-creating or bringing about this balance, because that would solve a myriad of problems in one go. It would solve the stress problem. It would solve the low engagement problem. It would solve the diversity and inclusion problem. It would solve the sustainability problem, the lack of meaning, the quiet quitting, the great resignation. There's so many problems that you could save in one go. And then I hear corporations say, well, we don't want to invest in initiatives that are not our own initiatives, and that are not, where everybody goes to the same thing. And I would say this is a dangerous way of thinking. That's the industrialized way of thinking. If you want to innovate, it's known that you need to do a lot of different experiments, and often at the same time. And then you see which one is flourishing, and then you give more room for that one. So I don't understand why you as a corporation are more willing to spend all the money on losing your talents instead of just investing in them. It doesn't make sense. I mean, from a financial perspective, from the bottom line perspective, it does not make sense. So bottom line here, from where I sit and receive a lot of the people who are so tired of corporate ways of doing things, or really eager to change things, or really motivated to help, and are really passionate about building better organizations and building a better world. From my position where I listen to them, I just want to say to you, organizations, there's room for improvement, and we don't make you wrong, but it would be quite easy and a lot cheaper to do something about this problem by including more of the feminine. And how do you include more of the feminine? You get access to it in yourself. You allow your leaders to get access to it in themselves, and then they spread that balanced energy, in the systems. They spread it. It's not that complicated. Once you get this, it becomes so logical. It becomes the new logic. And then the old logic becomes obsolete, because the old logic is destructive, not only for yourself and your corporation, but for all of us. All right, I'm here to help if you need any help, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows this, because I find it so it's so much easier and less costly to know how to incorporate more balance in your organization, and then you can solve so many problems in one go. So work smarter, not harder.